I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on GBN, we're sitting down with Denise Devroe. She's the author of a powerful memoir. It is called God Made Me, and You Couldn't Break Me. It is a raw, unflinching story of survival, faith, and breaking generational cycles of abuse, domestic violence, and betrayal. For more than 2 decades, Denise endured physical abuse, financial manipulation, infidelity, and even survived being shot at. Yet she emerged stronger than ever, reclaiming her peace and building a life of freedom for herself and her children. This is a story for everyone who needs to hear a story about resilience, self-worth, and the unbreakable spirit that God places within each of us. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her on TV today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below this interview. Denise, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me. Yes.
It's a great honor to have you on the show. You've done great work on this book. 16 years old, I believe it was. You're just a teenager and you met James and you're having a baby and your life is starting, but there are troubling signs already. Bring us back to the beginning.
Yes, I was 16, 6 months pregnant with my daughter.
Mm.
I happened to meet him at a basketball court, in the playground in my hometown where we were staying at. And he, called me over. We started talking and, had a good conversation. And we were basically like, whenever you have the baby, then I'll come back and see you. So
Mm.
he did that. And that was an okay start. That was a good beginning. I didn't know what type of person he was until later on,
Yeah.
but that was a good beginning. I had my daughter, and he came over, came back to Tahoka, which is my hometown, and started, talking to me, and we started seeing each other at that time.
So, like a lot of things, it begins good, but then it goes bad. He's cheating on you. He's verbally abusive. He's physically abusive. And this went on for years, right?
Oh man, it was like one of the longest storms I ever encountered, in my life. It was hard, very hard for
Yeah.
me to deal with, but I had to stay pray, up with God all the time in order to help me survive the struggle that I went through with him.
Yeah. And all the time, he did what a lot of abusers do, promising you that it won't happen again, that he's sorry, begging to be taken back and all of that stuff. Meanwhile, he's getting hit with paternity suits and that kind of thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And he was getting hit with lots of paternity suits. So I kept thinking, well, goodness, he's been around a lot and stuff. But at that time, I was still young and
Yeah.
I loved him, and he was good to my daughter,
Yeah.
and a lot of the paternity suits, some of them came back not his, some of them came back his, and
Yeah.
it was just a hard situation.
Yeah. And you want it to work. I mean, you're young, you have a daughter. At times, you guys are happy together. And, so you're hoping those bad demons will just go away. But they don't, right? He
Right.
just seems to spiral and get worse. He does time in jail. You
Hmm.
find a little peace in your life. But when he gets out of jail, chaos again, right? Tell us about what happened when he got out of jail.
Oh my gosh, it was like his ex-girlfriends, kept calling, coming around, and he didn't do anything to try to stop it. And it would be hard on me because then they would, fight with me and you know grab me, and we'd be riding around somewhere, and we'd stop with the windows rolled down, and before you knew it, I had somebody grabbing me by my hair and pulling me, trying to pull me out the car. And it was because he was still messing with those women.
Yeah. At one point, you were shot at. Tell us about that.
Yes. This was a lady that apparently he had been seeing before we got married and continued to see her after we got married. And
Mm.
I was actually going down one of the main streets in Lubbock, and her brother, um, drove up to me, and I could see the red truck, through the corner of my eye. And before you know it, I could hear like a lot of wind and stuff because I had music playing in my car and it was kind of loud. So I heard wind and stuff blowing in my window. I stopped at the store nearby, and my back windshield was shot out, front windshield was shot out, the top part of my what was it, the sunglass was shot at, so it was like 3 or 4 shots that she had shot at me. And this was the woman he was, seeing on the side while we were married.
Frightening, frightening. I mean, if any one of those bullets had gone in a different direction, you might have been killed.
Exactly,
You know,
exactly.
crazy. When did you finally find the strength, or how did you finally find the strength to say enough and divorce him?
Man, it took years. It took years because I had the hardest time, you know, leaving him because, like I said, I loved him very much,
Yeah.
and I thought maybe I could try to make it work, but it was like when after that, after the shooting, and after that happened, he didn't even bother to come see if I was okay. He just came and started beating on me after that happened, and he went to jail. So they were both in jail at the same time. And after that incident, I was pretty much enough is enough, and I started filing for divorce.
Yeah. And did he finally leave you alone once you got divorced?
No, it it
Yeah.
it kind of got worse, because when I did divorce him, he knew he had to be there the 61st day, to contest and stuff, and he didn't show up, and I was there. And so the judge granted me everything that I asked for.
Mm,
And one of them was spouse support because I needed to pay off the bills that he left me with
right.
and stuff. And when he found out, when they started taking the money out of his check, he got more enraged and started coming over to the house and jumping me in my sleep and, you know, giving me a hard time until my son, he was old enough. My son started to intervene every time he would see his daddy come.
Mm,
So, in order to stop him. And then one incident, which was so bad, he came and jumped me. My daughter happened to be living with me at the time with my grandson. And she came in the room, and it was like all three of us were fighting from the bedroom to the living room to outside. And we didn't know his oldest son was outside, so he intervened and tried to stop everything. And after that happened, he pulled a gun out on my daughter, and it was just awful, and I had to grab my grandson, and I was like, just get me away from this house. I had to go somewhere else to stay for the night.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you finally get an order of protection or something to keep yourself safe?
I kept trying to do that, and I kept trying, and the police would come. Some of them were helpful, some of them weren't.
Yeah.
So I went and filed all the paperwork and stuff, and it was just a hard thing to do because they kept saying, well, he has to go to jail for the actual abuse. He did go to jail one time for the actual
Right.
abuse,
Right.
but they just I just had the hardest time getting them to do a peace bond on him. You know,
Crazy. I
I
mean, like, what do you have to be dead in order to get an order of protection? You
exactly,
know? Yeah.
exactly. That's what I felt like. Yeah,
Yeah. Awful, awful. Yeah, police tend to be very reactive. They'll
yeah,
react to the crime after the fact. When it comes to being proactive, it's a problem. Part of it is their hands are tied sometimes by laws and the
yeah,
Constitution, but they should absolutely give out orders of protection more liberally for people who need them, no doubt.
yes,
Um, when did you start to turn it all around? When did your life get better? I know you at one point purchased a home or something, and that felt like a
yes.
big step, right?
Yes, I bought, completed buying my house. After that, and I purchased, a nice vehicle. Um, I would go to work. I forced myself to go to work every day, even with the problems and stuff. But then after I finally got done with the situation and finally, felt peace in my life, I was able to do a lot more. I worked and took care of the kids, the grandbabies, and supported us and made sure they were able to overcome everything that they saw me go through, and they went through as well. And I ended up working for my job for like over 25 years.
Mm.
So I was so grateful for that job, because without that, I probably would have lost my sanity with everything I was going through, because it kind of helped me to go to work and kind of get away from stuff.
Yeah,
But
you needed some stability in your life.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And the kids as well. I wanted to make sure that I was here to help them out and provide for them. And once all that, ended with James, we were able to do a lot more, enjoy our life and not worry and take vacations. And I would take them out of town and we would have a good time as a family, and they enjoyed that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The title of your book is very empowering. God made me and you couldn't break me.
Yes.
Tell me why you chose or settled upon that title.
I had been thinking and thinking for like a month or so of what to name the book, and I just couldn't come up with anything. Well, one night I was actually sleeping, after praying and everything, went to bed sleeping, and it just came to me one night. Like that title came to me one night, and I got up and I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it the next day. And I kept reading it, and I'm like, this is a good title for my book. And I felt it, to be really strong for me.
Kind of summarizes your story. You know, you're a child of God, you're God's creation, and, trials and tribulations were put in front of your path, but you were able to not be broken and you survived. And I think that's a powerful message for women and men to hear, no doubt.
Yes.
Why did you decide to share your story?
Because I've had so many people that I've known, friends that I know that have gone through the same situations. Some of them are still in jail, for retaliation and doing stuff, that got them in that situation. And some of them have tried to commit suicide. And I felt that if I could write this book and people could read it and see how I was able to survive, that it would maybe help out a lot of people that way.
Absolutely. I think it will. I think it will. People need to know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel and that they need to break free of abusive relationships.
Yes.
It's said time and time again, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen again. I'll never hit you again. I'll never do this again. I'll never do that again. But, tiger doesn't change its stripes,
Exactly.
unfortunately,
Yep.
and things usually stay the same. And sometimes these stories end up much, much sadder than your story. Your story has a happy ending that you're surviving and thriving and have your home and all of that.
Yes.
What's the message that you hope readers take away from the book?
Um, I hope that, if somebody is going through something like that right now, that they can, like I say, pray to God. Like that was the biggest help for me.
Mm.
Pray to him, and sooner or later he's gonna lead you in the right direction. There is hope, regardless. So I just want the readers to see that there's hope after the storm, the light after the storm. And once you get to that light, it's a beautiful thing, that you survived it and were able to continue living your life happy and peaceful.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is always darkest before the dawn, and the dawn is coming, and your book makes that clear. The name of the book is God Made Me and You Couldn't Break Me. It is a raw, unflinching story of survival, faith, and breaking generational cycles of domestic violence and betrayal. Denise, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time, your insight, your candor, and the wonderful work on this book. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford for the Global Book Network. So long for now.